What's up, Jets fans? Welcome to the latest edition of Jets Latest, where you get the latest on the Jets, Jets. I'm your host, the spitting statistician, Dane Martinez, and today I want to take a look at, the draft and free agency and giving you some tea leaves to read for what the Jets may or may not do. We've talked about it a bunch. The Jets have a ton of cap space, 95 plus million. I believe here at Jets Latest that we can believe in Darren Muji. He's been a good identifier of talent in both trades, free agency, and the draft. And I've talked about what I think are the primary areas of need, right? I think it's interior offensive line. I think it's safety. I think it's wide receiver. And I think it's front seven in terms of getting someone on the edge that can rush the passer in addition to Will McDonald and Jermaine Johnson. I know the quarterback question is out there. If you've been watching, and by the way, thank you to the over 2,600 of you who have subscribed and watched these videos, like these videos, engage with me in the comments, tell a Jets fan friend to tell a Jets fan friend. Go ahead and subscribe, become a Jets Latest insider. But if you haven't heard, I do not think the Jets are getting their franchise quarterback in the 2026 draft at number 2 overall. I think they're going to build up the rest of the roster and look to 2027 in the draft for the franchise. I think it's a bridge kind of veteran. We've gone over the names: Kirk Cousins, Mac Jones, Marcus Mariota, and others, Jacoby Brissett, who could fill that need. However, many people believe that Dante Moore at number 2 out of Oregon, if he comes out, is going to be kind of the Jets guy. I don't think it's the case, but we may have found a tea leaf to read in terms of Dante's decision, and it comes from somewhere else in the country. It comes from Nebraska, where Nebraska quarterback Dylan Raiola has transferred via the porthole to Oregon. So now Dylan Raiola, who by the way is a top prospect in his own right for the 2027 draft, a high regarded quarterback, is transferring to Oregon. I don't think this kid is transferring if he doesn't have the intent to play, and I think that means that Oregon at least believes that Dante Moore is going to be gone and going to be in the draft this year. So that may complicate things for the Jets. We shall see. But one thing I saw out there that I think is interesting is that Dante Moore has only had 18 starts in college. Look at the names of the guys who have had less than 20 starts in college in the last decade and a half coming out. Anthony Richardson, Trey Lance, Dwayne Haskins, Ryan Tannehill, Mitch Trubisky. Not many great ones out there, right? You can talk about Cam Newton, sure. Did Kyler Murray ever fulfill potential? I don't know. He might be on the move himself. Mac Jones played well this year, but is he a franchise quarterback? I don't know. I'm describing him as a bridge. I say this to mean there is limited information on Dante Moore, and I don't know if he should be the guy that we pin our hopes on for, the Glennaissance. I don't know if he's the guy that Muji and Glenn are going to pin their hopes on when their jobs are on the line, needing to make this kind of thing escalate and ascend. And if you draft him at number 2, you're probably going to have to start him very soon. I don't think that is going to be part of the Jets' plan. He is not the guy, in my opinion, although it does look like he may be in the draft because of the transfer from Nebraska. Wanted to give everybody in Jets Latest land that. Here's someone who I do think that the Jets are going to pin their hopes on, and it's one of our own, running back Breece Hall. Obviously, the priority number 1, in my opinion, for the Jets is to bring Breece Hall back as our starting running back, whether that means re-sign him to a long-term deal or, I've mentioned, the franchise tag as a kind of an option. And let me give you a little bit more about that. First, listen to what Darren Muji had to say when asked about Breece Hall at the kind of end of season meetings and press conferences. Darren Muji says, Breece is a good player, and we want to have as many good players as we can. We had good conversations. We'll go through this process and see how free agency unfolds, but we want to have good players. I won't get into the hypotheticals, but we will exhaust all different options and see where that winds up. 2 things I thought was important when I watched that clip. One, they ask about Breece Hall, and Muji starts right away being like, Breece Hall is a good player, and Aaron Glenn is also there. And you can hear Aaron Glenn in the background, laughing, being, Breece? Yeah. When Darren Muji says, Breece Hall is a good player, and we want as many players as we can, you literally hear Aaron Glenn in the background, being like, yeah, Breece? Yeah. So that seems to me they want Breece Hall back. And guess what? If they want Breece Hall back, Breece Hall will be back. Because even if he doesn't agree to a contract, the Jets have the ability to franchise tag Brees Hall. And I do think if they can't come to agreement, that's going to be something you're going to be hearing about a lot. Remember, Brees Hall is the first Jets running back to go over 1,000 yards all the way back since Chris Ivory in 2015. And here's what I looked at. The franchise tag for running backs last year was about 13.6 million. This year, it's 14.2 million. We'll see what Brees Hall wants. We'll see what the Jets are offering. But if they can't come to agreement, they may just franchise tag Brees Hall 1 year for the 14 million and continue to move forward. If you're looking at other running backs out there, why I think Brees Hall is going to be highly sought after and maybe can command a high contract, the other guys out there are J.K. Dobbins, Kenneth Walker, Javonte Williams, Travis Etienne, and then Brees Hall. Those guys are good, but I think Brees Hall is the belle of the ball. I think, Etienne, very good running back. Kenneth Walker, very good running back. I'll give you all that. But J.K. Dobbins, old, injury history. Javonte Williams just kind of popped this year for the Dallas Cowboys. I think there will be a market for Brees Hall, and I think it would be prudent for the Jets to make sure that they can lock up Brees Hall. And if they can't, the franchise tag is definitely an option. I think Brees Hall will be back as priority number one and be our starting running back next season. Now, I've been talking about the cap space that the Jets have, and they do. I've been talking about the draft picks, and they do. $95+ million in cap space, okay? Brees Hall, even at $14 million a year, we still have a ton of space. If the Jets are going to splurge somewhere. I know everyone's talking about wide receiver, and we'll talk about wide receiver in a future episode of Jets Latest. I don't think they're signing a George Pickens or an Alec Pierce or anybody like that. I don't think that's where they're going to splurge. If they splurge at all, I think it's going to be to continue to reinforce and build the identity of this team. And what Aaron Glenn wants is a young, good offensive line. We have it with the bookends for Fashanu and Membu. You've heard me say it. We have it with Tippmann. I've told you about guys like Emmanuel Pregnon, who we could be targeting an interior offensive line. I've talked about how Simpson and AVT could come back on a re-sign deal. But if the Jets are going to splurge, one kind of target I would like to see them go after and really try to steal and splurge on is Tyler Linderbaum. He is a center that is from the Baltimore Ravens. Not only is he a center on the Baltimore Ravens, but he is a 3-time Pro Bowl center and is only 25 years old. He said he's a free agent. He said he wants to come back to the Ravens, but the Ravens have since fired John Harbaugh. And there could be a lot of transition going on in Baltimore. I don't know how Linderbaum feels about that. I think the Jets should offer him the bag. He is one of the best centers in the National Football League, was the 4th highest rated run blocking center, PFF, 5th best center overall, PFF. Like I said, 3-time Pro Bowler, consistent, only allowed 2 sacks and 1 quarterback hit this season. He is clearly the best center on the market. If we were to, instead of going after a John Simpson to re-sign, but spend a little bit more money and brought Linderbaum in, and we're talking about our good bookend young tackles, multi-time Pro Bowl center, keep Tippmann where he's been great at guard, and then bring in a top pick at guard, that is a young, good offensive line for years to come, all under contract for the next 3 years or so, right? Linderbaum at center, Tippmann, Fashanu, and Membu on their deals, and then a rookie, the second best guard in the class, like Pregnon, like I mentioned, or bring back a guard like Simpson or AVT. That could be part of the plan. So Tyler Linderbaum is definitely a name to note. He is only 25 years old. That would be a place to potentially splurge in free agency if you are the Jets. So that'll do it for this episode of Jets Latest. Remember, thank you again to the over 2,600 of you who have subscribed to the channel. Thank you for watching these videos, liking these videos, and engaging with me in the comments. This is a big time off season, so tell a Jets fan friend to tell a Jets fan friend. Let's see what some of you guys have to say. Jersey for Hawks says, Jets Latest seen it 2020. No complaints on the tank. Actually, it merits applause. I talked about how Brady Cook was what tanking looks like. And some people in the comments want to say that I was blaming Brady Cook. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, Aaron Glenn, when he talked about how it was the best chance for the Jets to win, no, it wasn't, okay? He knew, and we saw in Brady Cook's play that he wasn't an NFL caliber starting quarterback. We continue to start him and let the chips fall where they may. That was the tank after not bringing back Garrett Wilson, trading Sauce Gardner, trading Quinnen Williams. They ran them all out there, saw what the kids could do, right? And let the chips fall where they may. I'm not throwing shade at Brady Cook. Brady Cook did what he could. Not many quarterbacks could have done well without Garrett Wilson, with what we were running out there, without bringing back Mason Taylor. I get it, okay? But that was part of the tank. Ozine Ronnie Jr. 22670 says 100%. Thanks for being the only Jets content creator who's telling the people they don't get to complain about the tank and then complain about the need to get a top pick. We all knew at the trade deadline the season was over. Thanks for being honest and a grown-up. I appreciate you. Listen, subscribe and tell a Jets fan friend. I'm over here all the time giving you the real about the Jets, Jets. And then Ekbro75 says, good stuff as always, Dane. It leads me to think about what kind of scouting or evaluation ability Glenn has. He started as a scout, but he dropped Martinez to keep Brady Cook. I get you, but we've already seen some of Martinez. Cook was like an undrafted free agent rookie that they wanted to see. They never thought necessarily he was going to get this bad, and they would need to have him start games, so I don't begrudge him that much. And I do think on the scouting side, listen, I like what Muji has done in this front office. I like the draft. I like the free agency moves they made last year. I love the trades they made in the, kind of end of training camp, bringing in Briggs, bringing in Harrison Phillips, bringing in Brownlee, who I think is going to be our third cornerback this year, and the slot. I think our cornerbacks are going to be Stevens, A.Z. Thomas, and Brownlee. I think we're set there, okay? And even not only getting draft picks, but getting guys like Mechie and Mitchell, who I think are going to be our wide receivers 3 and 4 this year, behind Garrett Wilson, and what I think will be the number 16 overall pick. So we shall see. Thanks to everybody out there in the comments. Remember to engage with me. I love reading them out on the show. Engage with me on social media at Spittin' Speeds, and I am the host of the FTN Fantasy Show over on SiriusXM, channel 87. Check me out over there. I'm helping you win your leagues, win that cash on Sports Grid, hosting in-game live. If you want to try to understand better how to be a live bettor, I am here for you. But if you are just here for the green and white, Jets Latest is the place to be. Tell a Jets fan friend to tell a Jets fan friend. We will be back continuing to discuss the offseason, the coaching search, free agency, the draft, and what we do moving forward to hopefully continue the Glennaissance in an upward trajectory. But for this episode of Jets Latest, we out of here.